Hey everyone, hi. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking all about No Buy November, and in which this whole month I've been challenging myself not to buy any items for me, and I'm going to let you know how it's been going. I'm going to start off with a story time style portion of the video, and then I'll go into some of the emotional stuff, like how I've been feeling about this no buy, and then I'll go and I'll end with books that are tempting me and some responses to those temptations. So I guess I'll start off with, at the beginning of November, I was really excited. Well, oh my gosh, I'm starting and I haven't even introduced myself. So hi, I'm Shelly, and I love books and reading, and I'm really trying to not buy any books for myself this month, and I'm wondering what it will do to me, like how that will change me or what will happen. And so yeah, so if you like this kind of thing, if you love books and reading, I would encourage you to subscribe. Now let's just go ahead and get into the meat of this video. November started and nothing really changed with me. I didn't feel very tempted to buy books. I felt very satiated. I have bought a ton of books in the month of October rather. I have not bought any books in November. I have not broken my no buy. I'll just say that up front. And it's been, I had a lot of books, new books to delight me, to excite me, and there was a lot of newness in my life already. And so November started, and I want to say that the primary emotion that I felt was relieved, because I didn't have to think or even want any books for this month. That's kind of a strange feeling to have, but I'll also share something with you as I get more into my feelings. So the days were rolling by, and then the first Saturday came along. I believe it was November 5th. I'm not great with dates, so forgive. November 5th came along, and lo and behold, there was the library book sale. And my library does not do a large book sale very often. They do it maybe 2 times a year, maybe 3. And since, because COVID has happened in the last couple of years, they've been even less frequent. So I missed the summer library book sale because I had something going on during that time. I was actually out of town. I know I missed the library book sale because I almost didn't do the thing that I should have done. I was going to go visit my sister, but I had thought about putting off visiting my sister in order to go to the library book sale. But I said, no, your sister is more important than this library book sale, so go and visit her. And so that's what I ended up doing. So this next library book sale comes up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is calling to me. Cheap books, used books, this is all the kind of thing that I love. I love that kind of thing. I'm actually not like a new books bee over here. I'm really like a used books bee over here. And you get to see them and feel them, and there would be a ton. And I live really close to the library, so I could just walk down there right as the doors open. I'm also an early riser, and I could look through their inventory and get really excited about it. But I had already promised to do this no buy, mostly it was the no buy is for me. And so I had promised this to myself, for myself, and I didn't want to break that promise. So the temptation passed, even though we drove by a couple of times, and I was like, library book sale, you're calling to me. But I decided to skip it. And honestly, by noon, I think the library book sale went on until about 3 or 4 p.m. By noon, I had forgotten about it. I didn't think about it. I was digging through my collection already, enjoying the books that I have, and I really let that moment pass. Also, that day, we had gone down to the mall, basically. And y'all, I love makeup. That's my other love in life, is fashion and makeup and adorning oneself and sort of costuming and that kind of thing. And so we're at the mall. The mall is at least 30 minutes away. And of course there is Sephora. And so I'm like, let me just take a peek. And so I did take a peek inside of Sephora, looking at all of their makeup. And there were a couple of things that called to me, but ultimately I was like, no, Shelly, no. You're not breaking this no buy because you want to see makeup. And then the worst thing is that Ted, my husband, forgets that I'm on a no buy. So he's like, why don't you go look at the books at the book sale? Why don't you go look at the makeups? And I was like, stop tempting me. stop it. You're tempting me right now. We're not being tempted. But you know, I was able to look at the makeup and I just enjoyed looking. Like I enjoyed browsing and not having some of those angsty feelings to make some sort of decision that would be good for me, that I'm going to fall in love instantly with a piece of makeup and that it's going to fulfill my life and all of that. Like the answer was no. And so I was browsing with that mindset, and that was actually quite nice. It was just, I just was able to look at the pretty sparkles without feeling very tempted. So Saturday passed and it was, you know, it was fine. And then Monday happened. So I go to my local library a couple of times a week just to exchange books, to get out of the house. It's within walking distance. So often my youngest son and I will go down and walk to the library and enjoy it. And as we visited the library, they had extra carts out. I have footage of it, so I'll insert the footage now. They had extra carts of books out. And they're not just small carts, they're like bookshelves worth of books out, and they were selling them at the price that they sold their library book sale at. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna look. I'm just going to look. And that's exactly what I did. And I actually asked myself the question that I think was really pertinent to the feelings that followed. So instead of being in the mindset of like, I can't buy these and looking grumpily and resenting the fact that I couldn't buy them, I asked myself, do I want to read this right now? Will I pick this up right now? Otherwise, you're buying it to have it on your shelves. At least I would be. I would be buying it so that it would languish on my shelves until I was ready to pick it up. And with that mindset in mind and at the top of my mind, I looked through all of the books and it was an easy pass on all of them. Actually, there was nothing tempting me. The books that tempted me the most, weirdly, were the books that I already had on my shelves. And I think it's because I already have desire to read those books, and I would just be buying extra copies to have them. And I'm like, no. I'm not gonna do that. One copy of a book is enough for some books. And I'm fine. It really showed me allowing myself to browse and to look at the books with the mindset of, do I want to read this right now, this afternoon, tonight? Do I want to read this now? With that mindset in mind and looking through the books, it actually diminished a fire in me. The fire of feeling like I lost out, the fire of feeling like I missed the library book sale, that kind of thing. I still was able to enjoy browsing and ultimately walking away with like, it's okay if I don't buy anything because there is nothing on these shelves that I want to read right now. Whereas there are a bunch of books on my shelves that I want to read immediately. So that was kind of an interesting experiment. And I'm really glad that I was able to look through those bookshelves and answer that question for me. And then a few days later, I actually picked up Felicity by Mary Oliver. This is a book that I started in September and I didn't quite finish. And so I decided to finish it in November. I just totally skipped over it in October and I finished it in November. And Mary Oliver has a poem that I thought really spoke to me. And so I'm going to share that with you now. When I moved from one house to another, there were many things I had no room for. What does one do? I rented a storage space and filled it. Years passed. Occasionally I went there and looked in, but nothing happened, not a single twinge of the heart. As I grew older, the things I care about grew fewer, but were more important. So one day, I undid the lock and called the trash man. He took everything. I felt like a little donkey when his burden had finally lifted. Things. Burn them! Burn them! Make a beautiful fire. More room in your heart for love for the trees. For the birds who own nothing, the reasons they can fly. Now, what Mary Oliver is saying is that she was able to let go of things, and that made room for other things like love in her heart and appreciation for the trees. Now, the thing that I let go of are not things. The thing I'm letting go of is the desire to buy things, which actually, shockingly, took up a lot of space in my brain. I was going on outings just to look at the Goodwill in order to pick up more books, even though I have a ton of books in my life. I didn't realize the space that wanting to buy things was taking up until I made that space go away. I mean, of course I want to buy things, but the easy answer is I'm not going to. And interestingly, it created a small shift in my life. Deciding not to buy anything this month actually allowed me to look at my shelves critically and ask myself, do I ever want to read that book? Why am I holding on to books I don't like? Why not just declutter some books I don't want anymore? And that actually led me to, I gotta go get it, making a small stack of books that I am going to declutter. So I'm actually going to get rid of these books and give them to a little free library. And I'm glad for it. I don't want to read these books, or I have read them and I'm over it. Like they don't need to be on my shelves anymore. I either didn't love them or I don't ever plan on reading them again, and they're just taking space up on my shelves when I can just get rid of them and have a more tailored and curated collection of books that are to my interest and to my taste. I didn't realize how much I was in the headspace of more and more and more and more, and let's fill my shelves up, and all I want is more. All I am thinking about are the books that I don't have versus looking at the books that I do have and making some decisions about them, like getting rid of a stack of books that don't bring me joy, that I don't want anymore, and I think would really benefit other readers. And so it was really interesting because I haven't been in the decluttering mindset. I really haven't been paying a lot of attention to my own collection, but I didn't know that I wasn't paying attention to my own collection until I took shopping out of the equation. And now, as I'm looking at my books, I'm appreciating them, and I'm realizing, at least so slowly, that there are some books that I don't want. And so why not just get rid of them and have a collection that's, more about me? It seems kind of selfish, but I don't know. I hope this is making sense, but it's just been, I didn't expect that. This has been a surprise for me, and it's been really, really nice to get rid of and to cull, because I don't know, just having more and more and more, I think creates a little bit of angst for me, because I have to figure out where the books are going to go. I have to keep them in order. They have to have a home, and there's just a lot that goes into it. And so I don't know, shedding a few books feels like a whole weight is being taken off of me. I feel like that's quite dramatic, but I just didn't expect this from my emotional life in a lot of ways. And so creating space to look at my collection more critically has been wonderful. The long and short of it, it's been incredible. I have moved over, so there's quite a bit of space right here so I can put in the pictures of books that I want. So here's the deal. Back in 2020, I started this strategy in which I I kept a running document, a wish list of books that I wanted, and my rule was that I had to wait 30 days before I bought that book. And the interesting thing is that at the beginning of the 30 days, when that book first hit that wish list, I would feel so hot and heavy about that book. I would really, really want it. I was so convinced that I would read it right now and it would change my life and everything would be amazing, and the book needed to be in my library in that moment. And then as things, as the days roll by, I realized that I would forget about the things on my wish list. I would lose the desire to pick up the book, or I would just simply get distracted with books on my own shelves and lose, the want to buy a book. And so I decided to employ a similar strategy. I have a wish list of books that I want for this month, and I'm going to see how I feel about them at the end of the month. But I'm going to tell you about each book and why I want them. The first one is Family Lexicon by Natalia Ginsburg. Now, I want this book because of my friend George. We recently read M, Son of the Century together, and this deals with the aftermath of World War I, following more or less Benito Mussolini, and there is a lot of political and social context that I think is really fascinating and that I wish, in some ways, Scrutiny got into a bit more, especially during the aftermath of World War I in Italy. And so he had recommended to me Family Lexicon by Natalia Ginzburg. So anyways, Natalia Ginzburg is an Italian writer, and she was, I believe, living in Italy during this time period, and I wanted it because I just loved M. Son of the Century so much that I wanted to immerse myself even more in this time period, especially in Italy. You know, like if we're in Italy during the aftermath of World War I, I'm interested in that, okay? However, I tried to buy this book. I tried to buy this in October, and it was simply too expensive at the time. And it doesn't really pass my test of, do I want to read this right now? I don't. I have so many books right now that I want to read and that I am enjoying currently that I really don't have the reading space in this moment to pick up Family Lexicon by Natalia Ginzburg. I just have so many other things that I'm interested in right now. I'm still glad it's on my wish list, and I think it's one of those books that I will eventually buy when the cost doesn't bother me. When the price tag is just one where I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. I feel like I'll probably stumble across it at a used bookstore and feel like it's fate, and then I'll buy it then. But until then, I'm okay with it just sitting on my wish list and, you know, reminding me that I do want to read it one of these days. The next book is a book that was specifically recommended to me by the Lindy at Lindy's Magpie Reads. I very, very much admire Lindy. She is a retired librarian, and to get a specific recommendation for me from her was like super special. So I took this book and I like added it to my wish list. It's called Memorial, The Excavation of the Iliad by Alice Oswald. She was just like, I think that this will be your bag, because I was describing what I liked, and I know that she did this for a living, y'all. She recommended books for a living. And so I just felt like all smug and happy and excited that she was recommending me a book. And so it's on the list. It still is very, very much like piquing my interest in that I'm interested in the subject. I'm interested in the Iliad. And so anyways, so I want to pick it up after my no buy, but I'm okay with waiting, I guess. And it's not hurting me to wait. You know, maybe a little bit, but it's not hurting me to wait. And I'm just tickled that I got a recommendation from Lindy at Lindy's Magpie Reads. When Lindy recommends you something, you put it on your wish list, y'all. Oh my gosh, the next book is a silly thing to be on my wish list. And it is The Epic of Gilgamesh, and this was recommended to me by, this was not recommended to me. I saw it on the channels of Ben at, I'll put Ben's channel link down below and I'll have it flash across the screen. I'm sorry, Ben. I don't have your channel name in mind. And also Elisabeth. So both of these channels, which is like, if you want to really get me excited about a book, all I need to do is watch 2 videos of people praising a book, and then I'm like, it's fate. That book is for me. I want it so much. And both of these channels were talking highly about this book. And so obviously I'm like, well, this is for me. I want it so bad. But the thing is that this is ancient literature. And I have ancient books languishing on my shelves, like The Histories by Herodotus. I have that. It's there. It's staring at me, y'all, and I have not picked it up. So why would I think that I'm going to pick up The Epic of Gilgamesh when I have something like, just like it, at least in my mind, sitting on my shelves unread? So I think I'm fooling myself with this one, in that, like, I'm fooling myself into thinking that I want this when I don't actually want this. I think I want the prestige of it. I want it sitting on my shelves. I want a Penguin classic, and I want to be like, look, y'all, I'm super snobby. I have The Epic of Gilgamesh sitting on my shelf, and it's just looking at me. Now, have I read it? No. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting to think about comparative works in my collection that would fill the same desire that a book is calling to me would do. Does that make sense? Oh my gosh, I feel like that didn't make any sense. So it's interesting to take apart why I'm desiring The Epic of Gilgamesh, and then when you get down to the root of it, I'm like, I like ancient literature. It's fun, it's challenging, and yet all of those things, fun, challenging, ancient, it's a different kind of read. I have books like that on my shelves, and they would do exactly what The Epic of Gilgamesh would do, but yet I somehow trick myself into desiring something new. Oh, Harry! The last book, I am being tempted because of my friend Fraser. Fraser has been on a fantasy reading kick. I hope you don't mind me sharing Frasier. And the thing is that I just, reading with Fraser is a good time for me. I enjoy reading with him. We enjoy discussing books together. And so he was like, I really want to go on the epic adventure of reading, what is it called? Gormenghast? See, I don't even know the title. The Trilogy of Gormenghast by Mervyn Peake. I just know it is fantasy and it's written in iambic pentameter. And so it's not the book that's getting me. It's not the book that's getting me. It's like the good time that Frasier is offering. And so it's on my wish list and we're making plans to possibly read it in 2023. And there is a part of me that when he talks up a book, I immediately want to buy it. Like, I'm just like, look, it sounds like a great time, okay? And I want a great time. And so, you know, this book is calling to me. There is an edition of it on my library website, but I'd have to read the book on my iPad, and I despise reading books on my iPad. I love reading on my Kindle. I like that matted screen, but on my iPad, I mean, unless it's a graphic novel, I just despise it. And so the format that the library is offering me is like really turning me off to reading the book. And it's also like stoking the desire to like buy the physical copy so that when we're ready to read it, the format that I want it in will be there waiting for me. And so that, you know, that's kind of interesting because it's like if I was less of a snob, I was willing to let go of certain things. Like my library has a free copy right there waiting for me, but instead I'm being all snobby and I am just saying no to the library and I am letting it get all in and amongst me, and my desire is to really kind of get stoked because I'm like, well, the library copy isn't good enough, so I'm just gonna buy my own. And you know, like I can let go of some of that, I'm sure. Like I could like come back down to earth and, you know, realize that the library copy is good enough for me. But yeah, it's still on my wish list because you know, Frasier's still talking about wanting to read it, and so I'm like, I want to read that. I want a good time. So yeah, I'm gonna come back to the center, y'all. Okay, I have no idea how long this is going to be. I feel like it might be a bit of a long one. Who knows? Who knows these days? Videos are as long as they need to be. But yeah, if you are doing No by November, then how is it going for you? I would say that it's definitely going really well for me. I'm really, really excited. Oh, I guess the last thing I should talk about is that the end of the year lists are coming out, and it's been helping me to think about the end of the year list in terms of why I don't want to read something. And also double checking with my library to see if they have a copy. That's been really helpful. I know, y'all know, when Steve Donahue comes out with his end of the year list, like I am going to be slain. I'm like, that's the one that I'm gonna have a really difficult time saying no to. But that will be in December and my no buy will be over, and hopefully I will walk away from those lists, you know, not super scathed. But yeah, anyways, that's the only one that I'm actually worried about. The rest, I'm feeling like, I don't know, maybe. Can I trust you? Like, I'm like, you know, New York Times, your best books of 2022. Can I really trust you? I'm not sure. So yeah, so there's that, but it really has been helping in terms of what do I have on my shelves that would fill the same desires that this book is provoking in me, in terms of that, like, oh, it's about, you know, femininity and it's an adventure story. Like, I have tons of books like that. And so that's been really interesting as well, to look at these end of the year lists and be slightly tempted, but then ultimately being like, no. So yeah, anyhow, that's it for me, I think. Tell me about you. I've shared a lot today, a lot of checking in about me and my feelings. Let me know how you all are doing and how November is going for you. Are you on a no buy? What have you bought this month? Tempt me in the comments below. And yeah, that's it for me. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye, guys.